Welcome to Study Time, a televised home learning program produced by Rwanda Education Board.
Hello students, welcome to TV learning programs, and as usual I'm teacher Julius, and today I'll be with the senior 4 economics class. We are still on our unit 5, which is the theory of demand, and our today's lesson we are going to talk about a change in demand and a change in quantity demanded. So at the end of this lesson, learners, I expect you to be able to derive a distinction or the difference between these two terms, a change in demand and a change in quantity demanded. So in this unit, we saw many things. We saw what demand is, factors that influence demand. So you should be able to memorize all those things that we talked about in this unit. So now, let us begin with a change in quantity demanded. A change in quantity demanded. So, before we explain what is, I want to put two tables here, or schedules, and then you try to note some difference and you tell me what they mean. So we have schedule number 1 here, or I will draw table number 1 here. Then from this, I will need you at least to analyze and you tell me something. To analyze and you tell me something. To analyze and you tell me something. So I have this schedule here, and here I have my price in Rwandan francs. Then I have here our quantity demanded, maybe in kilograms. Our quantity demanded maybe in kilograms. So if maybe we have a price here as 200, maybe 300, and we have a price 400. Then on this, our quantity demanded here, maybe we have 6. Here we have maybe 4. Then here we have maybe 2 kilograms. So I want you to analyze this schedule number 1, and then I have table number 2, or schedule number 2, where we also have my price here in Rwandan francs. Then I have my quantity demanded maybe in kilograms. So here I have maybe the price of 400, the price of 400, the price of 400. The price is constant. Then in our quantity demanded can have 1, 2 kilograms, 3 kilograms. So I want you to analyze these two schedules, or demand schedules. Now, if you look at schedule number 1, or this table number 1, we have a law for prices and a law for quantity demanded of a given commodity. So at 200 Rwandan francs, we can see quantity demanded being 600 kilograms or 600 units. Then at 300, you can check, we have quantity demanded of 400. And at 400, you can see Rwandan francs, we have the quantity demanded reducing to 2 kilograms. So you can notice that here, prices are changing, and also quantity demanded is also changing. As the price of this commodity is increasing, you can notice that there is a reduction in the quantity demanded of this commodity. So when you come to schedule 2, I want you also to analyze, whereby we have a constant price. At a constant price, quantity demanded is not constant, is changing. So our two concepts today, it is a change in demand and a change in quantity demanded. So what do we mean by a change in quantity demanded? So a change in quantity demanded, it is an increase or a decrease. A change is a decrease or an increase. A change refers to an increase or a decrease in the quantity demanded due to changes in the commodity's price, as other factors are kept constant. So if you can look at this schedule number 1, the prices or the price of this commodity is changing, and the quantity demanded is also changing. So now this schedule will represent or there is a change in quantity demanded due to a change in price, due to a change in the price. So other factors that influence demand here, we assume them constant, not changing. What changes is only one variable, one factor, which is the price of that commodity. So in this case, one factor is put under investigation, is under study, while other factors are kept constant. So what could be those other factors that are kept constant? You should be able now to memorize them, like future price expectations, like seasonal changes, like those factors are kept constant, size of population. So all those factors that influence demand, in this case, will be kept constant. What varies? It is only the price of that very commodity. So that will indicate a change in quantity demanded, a decrease or an increase in the quantity demanded of a commodity due to changes in its price when other factors are constant. So we can now try to illustrate that, and we see. So for example, like from this schedule number 1, how can we look at that? So we shall see the movement along the demand curve, the movement along the demand curve. So if we try to illustrate that, a change in quantity demanded, a change in quantity demanded. If this is our quantity demanded on this axis, our quantity demanded maybe in kilograms, then we have price here along y-axis in Rwandan francs, or price is in Rwandan francs. Then we can try to, so you can check, we have on price, we have 200. You can try to check. We have 200. Then the price increased to 300. You can try to see. Then from there, it increased to 400. Then you can also, on this x-axis, we have 2 units of the commodity. We have 4 units of the commodity, and we have 6 units of this commodity. So when the price was at 200 Rwandan francs, quantity demanded was 6 units. So meaning that at a lower price, more quantity was bought. So now, if you try to plot your curve here, you can see. Then at 300, we have 400 units of the commodity that were bought. As the price keeps on increasing, then you can check that the quantity demanded keeps on reducing, So if you can draw our curve, so this is now our demand curve. And on this, we can have 3 points now. We can have point A here, point B, point C. So I want us to note one thing. As the price, if you can check, as the price increased, you can check there is an increase in price here from 300 to 400. So this one will indicate a contraction in demand curve. So this one we can call it a contraction in demand curve, meaning that a contraction in demand, there is a reduction in the quantity demanded of the commodity due to an increase in price in this case. Because you can check, as the price increased from 300 to 400, quantity demanded reduced from 4 to 2 by 2 units. Then you can also check from point B to point C along this curve. There is an extension in the demand. There is an extension, this is an extension in demand, which indicates that, as you can check, as price reduced from 300 to 200, quantity demanded increased from 4 units to 6 units. So it increased by 2 units. So you can check there is an extension in demand. Here there is a contraction in demand because quantity demanded here reduced or responded to the price increase by reducing. So this is now, it illustrates a change in quantity demanded. A change in quantity demanded of our schedule 1, if you can check. A change in quantity demanded. A change in quantity demanded. A change in quantity demanded. So you have to notice one thing here. All other factors are kept constant, are assumed constant. It is only one factor that is under investigation, and that is price that is variating. It is price that is changing when other factors like future price expectation, seasonal changes, all those ones are kept constant, are held constant. So a change in quantity demanded is a decrease or an increase in the quantity demanded of a commodity due to a change in price when other factors are kept constant. So you have to know this. You have to know how to distinguish these two. Here, it is only price changing when other factors are constant. It is only price that is changing when other factors that influence demand are kept constant. So this is this curve now represents a change in quantity demanded. A change in quantity demanded. As we are saying, a decrease and increase. You can check here when you say an extension in demand, meaning that in this case, so the consumer here responded to the price increase. The price reduced from 300 to 200, then quantity demanded also increased from 4 to 6 by 2 units. By 2 units. So, and likewise here, an increase in price from 300 to 400 led to a reduction in quantity demanded from 4 to 2 units. So that is a change in quantity demanded. So you should be able now, by use of a graph, to illustrate that. To illustrate that from our schedule number 1, as you can check. Prices or the price of the commodity is changing and quantity demanded is changing. Under a change in quantity demanded, other factors, we assume them constant. We assume them constant. Only one factor, which is price, is the one that is changing or variating. So that is a change in quantity demanded. So I want you now to analyze our schedule number 2. Our schedule number 2. I want you to analyze our schedule number 2. So if you can check our table number 2, and you check the row for prices, we have a constant price, 400, 400, 400. That is our constant price. But if you check on the column for quantity demanded, the quantity or the number of units that were consumed or demanded or bought at this constant price is not the same. It is changing. It is changing. So I want you to get a difference between this if you analyze this and this table. So here, the price is constant. So now ask yourself, what has caused the quantity demanded here to change? So you have to ask yourself, we have very many factors which influence demand. Very many factors which we talked about in this unit that influence, that affect the demand or that affect the quantity demanded. Now, we have the price here. The price is not changing, which means that other factors are changing. That's why they have brought a change in quantity demanded. The price is assumed constant here, but other factors are influencing now demand. That's why quantity demanded is changing. We have 1, 2, 3, of which now this may reflect a decrease or an increase. So, meaning that we may have a positive change and a negative change. A positive change and a negative change. So now, let us try now to look at a change in demand. A change in demand, as you can see, it is an increase or a decrease in the quantity demanded of a commodity due to other factors affecting demand. when the price is constant or at a constant price. So you can check how you can explain this. Refers to a decrease or an increase in the quantity demanded of a commodity due to other factors influencing or affecting demand at a constant price, as you can see. Other factors, a decrease or an increase in the quantity demanded of the commodity due to other factors influencing demand or affecting demand, but remember one condition, at a constant price. So there is a change in demand. There is a change in demand. Now, a change in demand, I've said it can be positive or negative. It can be positive, a change in demand can be positive, or it can be negative. It can be positive or negative. What does it mean? If it is positive, that is now an increase in demand. If it is negative, a decrease in demand. So in this case, when we talk about a positive change, so in this case we shall have an increase in demand. We shall have an increase in demand. An increase in demand. Then, when the change is negative, in this case we have a decrease in demand. A decrease in demand. A decrease in demand. Now, I want to see and illustrate this. A change in demand can be positive or negative. That's why we have an increase in demand and we have a decrease in demand. A decrease in demand. So, what is now an increase in demand? What is a decrease in demand? Can you distinguish the two? So an increase in demand, we are saying, is an increase in the quantity demanded of a commodity that occurs where there is favorable change in determinants of demand. So here you have to look at what are factors that may lead to a shift in demand. So in this case, we can have, or we can try to, I can try to graph this or illustrate this. If we have here the price, we are under a change in demand, where quantity demanded is changing, but at a constant price. Then here we have quantity demanded. We have quantity demanded, and maybe it is in kilograms. And here, our Rwandan francs, our currency units. So, what is changing here? It is quantity demanded, but the price is constant. Assume maybe we have our price 1, which is our constant price. Then we need to illustrate this. Quantity demanded is changing, but the price is constant. Maybe at our 400, which is our constant price, we shall expect to have quantities of this commodity changing. And I want us to first illustrate an increase in demand. So now assume that at this price 1, maybe quantity demanded is 1, Q1. And at this, now we have our demand curve, which is D1. And maybe quantity demanded has increased, and it is increasing at a constant price, maybe to Q2. And here we shall have our demand curve 2, D2. Let us name it D2. So here there is a shift. We have an increase in demand. You can check this. We have an increase in, this is a positive change now. A positive change. Now, ask yourself, can you please account for this scenario? So I want you to understand this very well. So you must reason out, what could be factors that may lead to this scenario, this change, this situation? And what is this situation? An increase in demand. So remember how you should state your factors. How you should state your factors. If you say seasonal changes, that will not lead to this. So you have to state favorable seasonal changes. Favorable seasonal changes. So you have to look at such a factor. You have, if you talk about population size, you have to talk about maybe big population size. A large population So those are favorable factors that will lead to an increase in demand, therefore a positive change. A positive change. Hope we are together and you are trying it for. Now, let us come to when there is a negative change, that is a decrease in demand. Remember, we are under a change in demand, where we said it can be positive or a negative. So let us try also to illustrate it and see. Our price is constant. Our price is constant. So we can have still our price here in maybe Rwandan francs. Then we have our quantity demanded. Maybe it is in kilograms. So our price is constant. So we want to see a decrease. Here a change has been positive, but a change here, it is going to be a negative. So assume at maybe price 1, we had our quantity demanded as Q1. And here we are saying a decrease, meaning that there must be a decrease in the quantity demanded, but at a constant price. And at this, assume we have our demand curve named D1, or demand 1. At this price, quantity demanded is this. Now, again, let us assume that at the same price, quantity demanded has reduced, maybe to Q2, quantity 2. So in this case now, we shall have our demand curve maybe named 2. So there is a decrease now. You can see now how the demand curve is shifting. So this is now a decrease in a demand. You can see the movement of this arrow. It is very important to show the shift in the demand curve. So you should be able now, by using these illustrations, distinguish between or give a clear distinction between a change in demand and a change in quantity demanded. Now, I want you to ask yourself, look at this. Our price is constant, and you have a decrease in demand. So can you please account for this situation? Now, look at factors that influence demand, and then you turn them or you state them in a negative way. Those factors will lead to a decrease in quantity demanded of the commodity. So you can see, at first, at our constant price, we have quantity demanded Q1, and then we have our demand curve D1. Then here, we are saying a decrease. So expect quantity demanded to decrease from the previous quantity bought. Now a new quantity bought, P2 or Q2. So that's why we have now the shift of the demand curve from D1 to D2. So the arrow is moving this side. So you can now look at these two. Here an increase in demand. Here showing a decrease in demand. These arrows are very important because they show the direction, how the demand is shifting or how it is moving. Now ask yourself, what could be factors? You may ask the question, what could be factors that would lead or that would cause such a situation? Our price is constant. Remember, it is not changing. So look at other factors that influence demand. Unfavorable changes, unfavorable seasonal changes, unfavorable changes in tastes and preferences. You have to look at such factors. Small population size. You have to look at those factors. So those factors would result into a decrease in demand. A decrease in demand. So, before I wind up this lesson, I have one question for you, which I want you to work out. So as the home assignment. So I want you to write this question, and then you try it out. You try it out. You try it out. So with the aid of illustrations, 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 distinguish between distinguish between a change, distinguish between a change in quantity demanded, a change in quantity demanded, and a change in demand, and a change in demand, and a change in demand. So, I want you to write down that question, then I expect you to answer it with ease from what we have discussed together in this lesson. Thank you very much for listening and watching. We meet next time in the next unit, which will be the theory of supply. Thank you. Stay safe.